I would give anything if my hands worked so I could really hold brushes. Mouths were not meant to hold brushes, hands were. And if I had brushes in my hands, I'd paint really big. I began work on this large painting in 1979, shortly after the Joni movie was released. And it took me a little over a year to complete it. So much of that year was invested in testing different materials, brushes, colors, composition, rendering sketches. Oh, I like this. No, I don't like that. So it took a long time. And actually, the canvas is so big that I had to have my art coach upend it. And I had to paint the downside of the composition first and then turn it around on its side and turn it at a different angle so I could actually reach the corners of the canvas with my brush. And that's not easy for me as a quadriplegic to paint large, but with my brushes being held between my teeth, this is about the biggest I got. This is the largest painting I've ever painted. Looking at this particular painting, I first rendered a hot glowing sunset underneath, the very first layer. Lots of gold, lots of yellow, lots of coral tones. And then on top of that brilliantly hot sunset, I started painting layer after layer after layer of cool blue tones to make the sky look chilly and windy. The resulting scene is at once both warm and cold. The palettes for my painting rarely include colors of high intensity, high chroma, dark bright colors, bright reds, dark violets. No, I tend toward the softer tones, blues, corals, pastel tones. There's something a little more gentle, a little more accessible about those colors, a little less in your face. And this particular painting, although it is very cool because of these blue clouds and the cold tones, yet the warmth of that sun underneath still comes shining through. It's kind of a play on temperature, this particular rendering of both warm and cool tones, which I think makes it very appealing. And after your eye, like any wanderer on a winter day, travels restlessly over the painting, that tiny little church welcomes you home. It's kind of positioned off center. If you want something to have a center of interest, something to be the focal point, never put it in the center of the painting. Always kind of compositionally push it off to the left or to the right. Acrylics dry very quickly, which is why I usually like to work in oils. However, in this rendering, acrylics work to my favor. They tend to be thin, and I made them even thinner. And so the warm underneath colors seem to glow, don't they? Even though there are many layers of cooler tones on top of the warm ones. The scene reminds me so much of the eastern shore of Maryland, where I grew up, because we've all driven down a country road and spotted a solitary church cresting a distant hill. And I wanted this little church to stand out amidst a wild, cold, windy sky and foreboding landscape, because this beautiful painting reminds me that through all the storms of life and all the winds of adversity, the Church of Christ, His love, His gospel will stand.